Now let's talk for a moment about evolution. I'd like to give you a quick and powerful argument that I've found helps me think about the problems with this so-called theory, which is really its own religion, but we'll get to that. Evolution has one big problem because there are three things that it can't explain. First, where did the universe come from? And not just matter, but the laws which govern it. How did protons, neutrons, and electrons form? How did the laws like the weak and strong electromagnetic force take shape that bind these particles together into atoms? What about gravity, which holds larger bodies like planets together? And where did photons come from? And how did the speed of light get determined? Second, where did life come from? Because okay, let's say we give the evolutionists basically everything, meaning the universe and every atom in it. How do those atoms assemble themselves into self-replicating molecules of life? Meaning, how do protons, neutrons, and electrons become the four nucleotides that then form DNA? How does that DNA figure out how to copy itself so accurately? How does DNA learn how to communicate the structures of every living thing on Earth, from ants to whales to fungi, and even you and me? Check out this quick clip to see another take on this same idea.
Over 500 million years ago, events like the Cambrian explosion brought tons of new animals to life almost instantly. But Darwin's idea says changes should happen slowly over time. Both of these cannot be right at the same time, so which one is it? Scientists say whales evolved from land animals, but the fossil record and the huge DNA changes needed don't line up. What really happened? DNA is like a recipe for life, but making new, working proteins by random mutations is nearly impossible. Like winning the lottery over and over, and over, and over. With all these challenges, could Darwin's theory be wrong? It's time to take a closer look at the evidence.
Remember, we only get to this question after we invent matter and the laws of the universe first, which is no small feat. But there's an even bigger problem. Let's say we give the evolutionists everything in the universe: matter, its laws, and life. Where does consciousness come from? How do neurons form? How does electricity start flowing through them? And how does that produce me talking to you right now? Because I'll tell you an uncomfortable secret. Even if we can say for sure what an atom is and what a molecule of DNA is, we still don't know what a thought is, and yet we produce them all the time. In fact, I asked AI, and it told me that the average person has 6,000 thoughts per day. With a global population of around 8 billion people, this would mean that humanity is having 48 trillion thoughts daily worldwide. And what is a thought? Scientists literally don't know. And yet hopefully this video is making you have a few of them right now. So to recap, evolution cannot explain where the universe, life, and consciousness come from. It can hypothesize about how this animal turns into that animal over a really long time, kinda by accident, but not where animals come from in the first place, what they're made of, or what their awareness or ours is. What evolutionists will often cite is the length of time the universe has been around. Current estimates claim that it's almost 13 billion years old. That's a very long time, long enough for life to somehow figure itself out and consciousness to emerge. Sounds plausible, right? There's just one problem. The entire idea of order emerging spontaneously from chaos is not how the universe works. In fact, that's not how it's ever worked or ever will work, because of one thing: the law of entropy. Now, I've been playing around with perplexity.ai, which I think is pretty good. I asked it to define the law of entropy, and this is how it responded. Quote, "The law of entropy is primarily associated with the second law of thermodynamics, which states that the entropy, disorder, or randomness of an isolated system will either increase or remain constant over time. It never decreases unless external energy is applied. This principle explains why natural processes tend toward greater disorder." End quote. Now let me pull out an important concept. The disorder of an isolated system will either increase or remain constant over time, and it never decreases unless external energy is applied. So in this case, the entire universe is our isolated system. Evolutionists will claim that after the Big Bang, which is pure chaos, order emerges. And not just a little bit of order, a cosmic order that will be enough to form subatomic particles, atoms, and physical laws. And then that order will just kind of stick around. But wait, didn't the law of entropy just say that disorder, including in natural processes, only increases over time? Do you see the contradiction? The law of entropy says that order becomes chaos, but evolutionists seem to say that chaos becomes order. So which way is it? Okay, you might argue that evolutionists don't really deal with the birth of the universe. That's the physicist's job. Go talk to them. Alright then, I'll give you the universe, all the atoms, molecules, and the laws which govern them. Evolutionists still have a problem though, because life is also a higher form of order. In fact, DNA might be the most complex molecule in the entire universe. It carries the blueprints of how to build all the organisms that we know of. DNA is a double helix made of 3 billion pairs of nucleotides, and that incredible double helix knows how to replicate itself and provide instructions for how to create proteins, the building blocks of life. And you're telling me that this impossibly complex molecule formed on its own out of chaos in a universe where the laws of nature go the other way? That's a bit of a reach, don't you think? To see how much of a reach it is, imagine that I take a cabinet full of glass vases and smash them into little bits. And then let's say I scatter them on the ground on an abandoned planet and then rocket away on my spaceship, leaving the glass there for millions or perhaps even billions of years. Now, what do you think will happen? The law of entropy states that the little bits of glass will become smaller and smaller bits of glass, eventually becoming dust. That is greater disorder and chaos. But the evolutionists want us to believe instead that the glass bits somehow, somewhere, will assemble themselves into a dramatic ballroom chandelier. Except that never happens. It's impossible. And for the same reason, it didn't and can't happen with DNA either, which is far more complex, beautiful, and glorious than even the grandest chandelier, because even the most spectacular chandelier on Earth will never be able to replicate itself, never discover how to make other things made out of glass, and will never become conscious of its existence. And that's the final piece that even the evolutionists can't explain, even if they could explain the universe and life. They don't know how that life began to recognize itself as life and ask questions like these. So the next time you see a diagram of an ape becoming a man or a whale becoming an elephant or whatever, and that same idea is being used to somehow disprove God, just remember that the 3 biggest questions of existence, where did the universe come from, where did life come from, and where did consciousness come from, have no good answers in an evolutionary system, because order does not and cannot spontaneously emerge from chaos. But you know what? I know where you can find these answers. There's a book about it. Check out the first couple chapters of Genesis. They're pretty great. And if I can just give a personal recommendation, don't stop there, because it only gets better. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, plus leave a comment down below letting us know what you thought. Until next time, friends.